It is 8 o'clock, time to go over the agenda for today's 9 o'clock meeting. I will call the meeting to order. Invocation will be by Commissioner Chris Gurley, and I think he has a guest coming. Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Bevan Foster. Then I will turn it over to Mr. Parker, and he will handle the process of electing a chairman and a vice chair. And we have the approval of the minutes. Does anyone have anything different? Saw anything different in the minutes that needs to be changed? Discussion, adjustment of the agenda. Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In talking with our county attorney, we would like to add under unfinished business, which would be after consent, CAD contract clarification. There's a couple of issues. You know, the board has approved of the CAD contract moving forward with approval and final recommendation by our county attorneys, but there were just a couple of issues that have come up that they wanted to make you aware of to make sure that you were good moving forward.
Is that under a consent agenda?
No, sir. After consent, it'll be unfinished business.
Oh, okay.
What happened when you voted on it before? You voted on it contingent upon the 911 board approving and Andrew and I approving. The 911 board will not approve it probably until the end of this fiscal year or the following. And those figures that you've got are good just through the end of this month. So if, you know, the 911 director believes that there won't be any problem with getting the funds from the 911 committee to have them approved. The person who recommends to the staff person who recommends to that board has said that the funds that we're requesting are within the, or can be used, and that's what the funds are for, but she does not have the ability to approve it. It's only the board. And so if you want to take advantage of what you've got now, you're going to have to modify the recommendation, your vote on it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So are you proposing that we make a motion to amend the requirements that we set out?
Yes, sir. Because, say, it cannot be done the way the motion was made before.
Andrew, could I get you to draft up the motion that you need?
Okay.
But that's the only change that we do have at this time.
It is amazing, though, that the 911 board has got to wait, 6, 7, 8 months before they can make a determination.
What I'm told is that they wait until the end of the fiscal year to see what kind of money is available, to whom they're going to give it to, and sometimes don't take the action until actually fall after the end of the fiscal year.
You good on that?
I am. It's just amazing to me.
Special presentations. Mr. Honeycutt, will you handle that?
Yes, sir. First is Mr. Thomas Rice with MLFL, who has requested to speak in the board on his proposed development off of Slocum Street. Number 2 is Matthew Whittle with Habitat for Humanity of Goldsboro, who's executive director, and his update on activities with Habitat. Number 3 is our Register of Deeds, Ms. Constance Coram. She has requested to speak in front of the board, and her information is on page 31 through 34. And then after that is a staff recommendations for dealing with Register of Deeds finances. And that's on page 35 through 37.
Okay.
And we have our appointment committee. And we have consent agenda. Number 1 is applications for elderly or disabled exclusion. Those on page 38 through 43. They're recommended by our tax department for approval. And if no questions on that, we'll go to number 2, our budget amendments.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Go back to special presentations for me.
Yes, sir.
I'm noticing that we have a time limit of 6 to 10 minutes. There's never been a time limit before. Just want to know why was that added?
There actually has always been.
It's never been on the agenda. I'm looking at previous agendas now, and I don't see it under special presentation.
Yes, sir, because I did not get a response out of everyone that I told it was going to be 6 to 10 minutes, acknowledging that they understood that. So I was asked to put it on the agenda.
Okay. When you get a chance, will you send me that information that's always been that way? And then, if so, even in the future?
It's been verbal, sir, and I've asked them to acknowledge that they understand it's 6 to 10 minutes, and they've always acknowledged that, but I did not get acknowledgments this time.
Okay, well, I still don't like that being up here if it hasn't been up here previously. And if it's just verbal, then that's nothing that's stating that the board has put that into effect, that's actual rules. So I kind of question that, you know what I mean? And not against you or anything, but just policies are policies, rules are rules, regulations are regulations. So even with our attorney, that's something that the board hadn't approved. And I'm pretty sure he can also acknowledge that kind of sort of shouldn't be there, because it hasn't been on previous agendas and it should be on this one. But it's fine for now. But I just wanted to speak on that.
Allison, move forward, please, ma'am.
Okay. Your budget amendments begin on page 44 of your agenda packet. The first one is for the sheriff's office, totaling $13,000. We are requesting to reallocate funds from other imaging and shredding lines to the sheriff's office. They have a project where they need to do some imaging to make some room for new files, so we are requesting to reallocate those funds. You have one for the sheriff's office in the amount of $10,207.26. This is requesting to reallocate this money from repairs and maintenance vehicles to capital outlay vehicles. They had a damaged vehicle due to an accident that was initially thought to be repaired, and now it's actually totaled upon further inspection. They're going to need to replace it. For the HMGP program, or hazard mitigation, we are requesting to anticipate an additional $38,378 in those grant funds and appropriate it accordingly. This is to help relocate citizens that rent the HMGP properties. For Wayne County Development Alliance, we are asking to reappropriate funds in the amount of $1,679,224.25. This is a grant that was previously received from the Department of Commerce Rural Ready Sites Grant Fund. The original amount was $1.78 million, and some of that has been spent. We are requesting to bring the rest forward for expenditure.
Where did that come from? Where did that come from?
Where did it come from?
What did it come from? What was it?
Well, it was a grant from the.
Yeah, that's for the Goldsboro Industrial Campus.
Do what now?
For the Goldsboro Industrial Campus.
Okay.
Okay. For EMS, they are requesting to reallocate $16,000 from their utilities water line item to utilities electricity. This is just where they had appropriated funds earlier and meant to split it up, and it just didn't happen, so they are correcting that. For the sheriff's office, they are asking to anticipate $13,169.75. This is for controlled substance tax monies that come from the Department of Revenue, and this will be appropriated in the controlled substance tax line item for expenditure. For the Jetport, this is an accounting reallocation, $2,542,716. We are asking to move that from just the general capital outlay line item to the grant expenditures line item. These are grant funds for the apron pavement rehabilitation project, and this will allow us to track the details of that grant a little better. For the library, we are asking to anticipate $115,360 in donations for the, to go towards the mobile library project. As you recall, there was an agreement that was approved in a previous board meeting that outlined the funding for this project, and so we are anticipating the funds that will be received from, I believe it's the foundation. Okay. For the sheriff's office, they are requesting to reallocate $16,545.45. This is to reallocate it from non-capital line item to capital outlay vehicles. It still has to stay in the seized property line items, but this will be to use, to replace a vehicle for use on the drug squad. And there will also be a trade-in on those vehicles as well. And that is all the budget amendments I have for you at this time.
And if no questions on budget amendments, we'll go to number 3. Motion to approve the sale of surplus property located at 412 East Walnut Street, Goldsboro, jointly owned with the City of Goldsboro, as requested by the City of Goldsboro to Oliver Design. And that's on pages 62 through 68. No questions, and we'll go to number 4. Motion to adopt resolution 2021-42, allowing the use of pyrotechnics in the town of Seven Springs, North Carolina. Again, it's on pages 69 through 80. And then number 5, motion to adopt resolution 2021-43, allowing the use of pyrotechnics in the town of Mount Olive, North Carolina. And again, that's in your agenda packet as well. Then number 6 is a motion to approve amendment to audit contract with Number Shear and Azell to amend the audit due date. With the implementation of software and some changes we've had this year, this is a small extension we're asking for. This is the exception and not the rule that we have normally followed here in Wayne County. And I know finance has done a lot of additional work, and appreciate the work that they've done, but we will still be in basically on time, but this will just extend the contract.
Well, just to be clear, it doesn't actually extend the due date. So the due date is what it is, but the LGC has a process where municipalities and counties can ask the board to extend the contract so that they can finish that work out. And so our particular audit for the FY21 year is in the final stages at this point. I fully expect that it will be completed in early January and presentation by the end of January, early February.
And then we talked about after consent agenda will be the unfinished business, the CAG contract clarification. And then under new business is motion to adopt resolution 2021-44, a joint resolution with Wayne County Public Schools allowing the use of $20 million in state funding for a new Rosewood Middle School with appropriate budget amendment. As the board is aware, we have received as part of the state funding $20 million that has been allocated specifically for Rosewood Middle School. The school board last night did approve of this resolution as well. Basically, the grant came to us with no strings attached, but there's strings attached. The strings attached were we want to make sure that the school board and the board of commissioners know that the $20 million is specifically for Rosewood Middle, and by doing a joint resolution between both parties, it should take away any or clarify any issues that may be out there. Number 2, any questions? Number 2, motion to approve recommendation from the Wayne County Library Director, Donna Phillips, and Library Advisory Board to permanently close the Fremont Branch Library. As the board is aware, we've had some issues with the Fremont Library, with some roof issues, some mold issues, that it really kind of continued. It's been a long, drawn process. We are still offering services in the northern part of the county, changed the hours that we were using at Fremont to double up at Pikeville. We're still offering programming at the Acock Home Place, but it's just one of those issues where the building is just not sustainable for us to move forward with. And you know, I know Fremont's really struggled to try to find options to fix it. But, you know, we've also talked about a library in the northern part of the county as well. And we just feel like it right now, you know, it is a good time to close the library. So if Donna is here and Megan is here as well, if I missed anything, please.
Mr. Chair, I just want clarity on this particular motion. Mr. Honeycutt, as it states, it's just, this motion is basically just to permanently close the Fremont Branch Library. However, when I go into page 101, and like you just stated that you want to start to focus on, a library on the northern end. So is this motion just to close the library, or is it to focus also on the northern?
It is to focus on a new library in the northern part, but this is closing, is not committing us to build one in the next, any time frame. But, you know, we did have a presentation made about the location of where a new northern library should be.
Yes.
It's in the Buck Swamp area, maybe other areas as well that we could look at. But, you know, by closing that, that'll make us look at other areas as based upon the recommendation.
I just want for clarity that this board is not committing.
No, we're not committing.
Anything
We're
other
not
than that.
committing location, but so that's a direction we do want to move towards
Okay.
in the future.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
and I understand that.
Yes, sir.
And there's other areas, and I'd like to, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to add something to our new business as well, just for discussion purposes. I'd like to add to potentially look at a satellite location on in the Dudley area for a library, a physical library. And this board, we've discussed it, and I think that it'd be a good idea. We have a lot of revenue that comes out of Dudley, Marmac area, but they have no libraries. There's a larger population that is in need of those resources. I'd like to add that for discussion if it's okay with this board.
I really don't know how to handle that. What's the pleasure of the board? I mean, I would like to see us in the future, when we want to add something, to discuss it at a previous meeting, so we wouldn't be caught kind of, you know, in the dark on what each board member wants.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Mr. Gurley.
And I may be wrong on this, but I thought we were going to look at like a regional approach per se with the library system, having one in the central part, one in the southern part, and one in the northern part. So, and I understand your the wants of Dudley, but those actually, I would think, would be served by the Mount Olive Library. And the reason I say that is that's actually the newest library of all. So I just want to make it clear that we are looking at a newer facility and location for the Northern Library, because, you know, you're talking about population. That's probably one of the largest populations that we have in the county is in the northwestern part of the county. So we just need to make sure that the public knows that we're not closing down the library and not looking to fulfill that need in the northern end. I just,
Well, all due respect, we have over 10,000 residents in the Dudley area alone. And when you look at revenue, a lot of our revenue comes out of Dudley, more so than a lot of other areas. Population-wise, and I'm not taking anything from Fremont nor Pikeville, because I think there's great people, I think there's needs there. However, when you look at the tax base coming out of Dudley, coming out of Merrimack, they don't reflect resources going to those areas. And in order for each community to feel as though their tax dollars are being used in the correct way, time is overdue for those communities to have resources.
okay, well, and I understand that, and I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth on this thing, but I thought the mobile unit, well, Ms. Donna might, you probably want to come up here and talk but I thought the mobile unit was to kind of serve the outlying areas on the.
A mobile unit is fine, but it's not fine when it's wintertime, when it's snowing, when it's raining, and it's temporary. You know, you're talking about a mobile library that will only be there 40 minutes or so in a location. That will never suffice to what someone needs when they have to do research, when they're trying to apply for jobs, when they're trying to just have a place to escape from, to learn, where it's a brick and mortar opposed to a mobile unit.
I understand. Let's talk to Don't let Ms. Donna.
Before Donna starts, though, let's clarify one thing. When we're talking about new library in the northern end, we're not necessarily talking about a new building. We used the existing building in Mount Olive, and if possible, we'd like to try to do the same thing in the northern end, is my understanding. So let's clarify that, we can renovate a building if we can find one a whole lot cheaper than we can build a new one. So, we're looking for a new library, but it may not necessarily be a new building, correct?
You ready for me? Okay. Good morning, Chairman Aycock, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about something that is near and dear to my heart. You all were provided with a detailed log of our efforts to address the major structural repairs that are needed at the Fremont branch over the last 11 months. As needed structural repairs have not been made at the November 19th Library Advisory Board, the board made a motion and unanimously approved it to send a recommendation to you all as the Board of Commissioners that we permanently close the Fremont Branch Library and turn our attention as a county to planning for a northern library to serve the citizens of northern Wayne County. This is a goal that is to provide equitable library services for all Wayne County citizens and is clearly articulated in the original library facility study plan, which was completed in 2005, and the most recent current facility study plan, which was completed in 2021. I'd like for you to know, as Mr. Honeycutt mentioned, that there were factors taken into consideration when this decision was made. Children's programming was never interrupted. Our library branch manager was proactive in recognizing that children needed to continue to be served with library services, and so she reached out to Aycock Birthplace, and there has never been an interruption of services in children's programming, and that continues today. We also offered curbside service at our Fremont branch library, until which time that was suspended from lack of use. And I'd also like for you to note that the distance between the Fremont and the Pikeville branches is 3.7 miles. I want you to know, as your library director, that I am in agreement with the decision of the board. Once upon a time, small branches in community were the way public libraries operated, and that model served us well for the nature of our work at that time. But today, and so during that time, public libraries primarily housed and circulated books. The model was transactional in nature. But public libraries have been innovating and adapting for the past decade, largely brought on by the advancing technologies. Our ability to respond so quickly during the pandemic was a result of this adaptation. And to those of you who ask, are libraries still relevant today? Yes, libraries are more relevant than ever. Why do I say that? Because once information access was limited, but today we are experiencing information overload. You have it at your fingertips. Information is everywhere. But consumers need trusted knowledge navigators, because when we get the right information in the right hands at the right time, it can be transformational to a person's life. Now, I want to inform your perception and the public's perception of what a public library is. I've talked with several of you, most of you, and you all have fond memories of using the library as a place to borrow books, maybe to complete a school assignment, or later to take your children to library story programming. And that is a beautiful memory, but that does not paint an accurate picture of what public libraries are today. Public libraries are designed now as flexible spaces that allow for interaction, and due to technology resources level the playing field for all citizens. We're living in a knowledge economy now, and public libraries recognize that people are not just information consumers, but they are knowledge creators. And so in the public library today, we have morphed into a full-service community center that aims to meet a wide variety of educational, civic, and social needs. So in addition to traditional services in public libraries today, as far as serving adults, you'll see things like workforce services for job seekers. That was a tongue twister. Those seeking new career paths, those unemployed and those underemployed. You'll see business owners and employees using our library resources to support their small businesses. And let's talk about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are increasingly using 3D printers to build prototypes for their new products in the public library. We saw this beautifully depicted this summer in our STEM camp, when young adults in our community were challenged to find a problem and then develop a solution and to create a prototype to solve that problem. Craig stopped by and he saw that firsthand. Senior adults are receiving technology training so that they can remain engaged in an increasingly digital world. And we have shared community commons space in our public libraries today that encourage exploration, creation, and collaboration. There are digital labs where access to technology is readily available, again, leveling the playing field. And not just access to those technologies, but instruction to use those technologies. We have dedicated teen spaces in modern public libraries that allow young adults to explore STEM careers. There are digital studios in public libraries, and there is public programming space. Even telehealth is taking place in public libraries. So we need flexible spaces that allow for adaptation and to provide equitable space and opportunity for all in our public libraries, including those with learning and physical differences. And I want you to know, as technology has increased over time, we lost space in our current library buildings because we had to accommodate for the growing technology in our buildings. So if you are using the Pikeville or the Fremont Library now, if you're using a computer, there is no privacy. You are sitting right on top of someone else. We lost public seating. In the Pikeville Library, there is one seat for leisure reading. There is a table that you can pull up and do research, but when we try to do children's programming, we literally have to move that furniture up against the wall to create a space on the floor for children's programming. And let's talk about adult programming. It is non-existent in both our Pikeville and Fremont branches. And so it is time for us to turn our attention to providing library services for Northern Wayne County. And I do have my library board chair here who just wants to make one remark on behalf of the board, if you would allow it. Ms. Lee Holtz.
Good morning. I am Lee Holtz, and as Donna said, I am chair of the advisory board. This is not a decision that we made lightly. We all do have those fond memories of libraries. I grew up in Wayne County. I still wish the library were over here on Chestnut Street in the old house, because that's where my memories are. But we also know, as Donna mentioned, all of the things that libraries play a part of in a modern world. They reflect the value of our communities They place on education and the quality of life. Our libraries do that. The Library Advisory Board believes addressing these library facility needs is an opportunity to improve the quality of life for citizens in the northern part of the county, which will ultimately contribute to the economic development of all of Wayne County. No other public institution touches the lives of so many people in a positive way as the public library. From first-time readers to lifelong learners, the library provides free and open access to resources and services tailored to the needs and interests of every age group. And if I didn't believe that statement, I've seen it. We hear a report every month in our advisory board meetings. The work coming out of our public libraries is phenomenal, and we deserve to be able to offer those same services to the citizens of the northern part of the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Wayne, just quickly, I want to give credit to Megan who pulled some statistics, because I think people who say, are public libraries still relevant, might be interested to know, do things still circulate in the public library? So Megan pulled the statistics from 2019-2020, the 2020 year, because that's a complete year and was pre-COVID. So we had a total, and this is physical items that circulated in our public libraries, almost 163,000 items. 113,812 were circulated in Goldsboro. 33,537 were circulated at Steele Memorial Library.
What was that figure again, the Mount Olive?
33,537. In Pikeville, 10,378. And in Fremont, 5,247. On top of that, almost 163,000 items, physical items that were circulated in our public library, there was an additional 64,991 electronic resources used in our public libraries. I do have photographs of the Fremont Library, and I can give those to Carol in case you were interested in seeing those. The photograph that was depicted in the newspaper was an old photograph and doesn't really paint the picture of what we're discussing today. And I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? First
Yes.
of all, do we need to ask the questions all now or wait till the meeting?
I would probably do it at 9.
Okay.
If just a recommendation.
Let's discuss it at 9, so
Okay.
everyone in the county will be able to see what we're talking about.
Okay.
Because the bottom line is, we're talking about services for the citizens, and we want to make sure the citizens are informed on what's going on.
Thank you. I'm happy to do that. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Williams?
No, I'll wait till 9 o'clock. That'd be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Then we do have, after that, under new business, number 3, motion to approve budget amendment for the purchase of emergency response mobile command center for the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. As you can also see in the memo from Sheriff Pierce, we did receive a $500,000 appropriation in the state budget, and that was specifically for the mobile command center. However, the costs have gone up significantly on these vehicles. Now the total cost is $902,965. So that means that we do have to come up with a match from somewhere. So it will either be from ARP funds. We don't know if that will be able to be used, but we are still exploring that possibility, or the county's fund balance. We've also asked the sheriff to work with him on some of his seized. We can't use.
Cannot be used.
Okay. We did have an option to look at seized funds. They will not allow us to use seized funds for this expenditure. So, but if we do not get the ARP funding, that would mean a $402,000 match from our fund balance.
Mr. Chairman, what's the possibility of the emergency management looking at some type of grants and all that? Because this is going to be a full service for, basically be a mobile command for all emergency services.
Right. We're looking at that now. Chip and Aaron have already started that process.
I think that's going to be through the emergency management. I think we could actually find some of those, especially we're talking about with the CAD system and all that, you know, and possibility of some 911 funds, but I know how,
Yes, sir.
you know, secure, I mean, they can be sometimes, but
Will the sheriff be in?
Yes, sir. Okay.
And again, Mr. Duncan, I want you to make sure you make it clear that this is not only for the sheriff's department, but all emergency services.
All emergency services in Wayne County. Yes, sir.
That needs to be clarified because, because this, this is, we're saying the sheriff's department, but this will be a county vehicle.
Right.
I mean, if EMS needs it, fire needs it, the vehicle will be accessible to all emergency response teams in the county.
it's just going to be run by the sheriff's
Run by the
office.
sheriff in his department, yes, sir. If you remember the tragedy we had at the river early in the year, we did use Johnson counties for over a week. And I think that kind of was the catalyst to say that, hey, we have borrowed and borrowed, and that now it's time to get something internal, with the hurricanes and all the other issues we have in Wayne County.
The first call it ever was run on was the shooting at Wayne Community College. That was the first call it ever went on. So, and we won't, we're indebted to the Sheriff Dizzle in Johnston County, but it's kind of time for us to kind of look after our own.
Yes, sir.
And keep in mind, any emergency response vehicle, regardless of whether it's EMS, fire, sheriff, emergency management, whatever, a lot of the equipment, you question the cost of it, and it's a piece of equipment that you hope you never have to use. But on the other hand, if you don't have it available, that's when you get in trouble. It's when you need it and don't have it.
And it's a huge, also, thank you to our local legislative delegation as well for coming up with $500,000 for this project. So we appreciate Representative Bells and Representative Smith and Senator Perry for the work that they did in getting the funding directly to us for this project.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just inquiring in regards to if we're going to take this from fund balance, which evidently we're going to need to, and we're going to seek to get grants, do we need to have any type of a resolution for a possible reimbursement of any funds that we put out?
Not if it's from fund balance, you would not need it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. How much are we looking at for fund balance?
Right now, the max would be 402, or excuse, is that
Yes. That's
402,965?
Now, when we first discussed this, it was a $750,000 vehicle, and now it's 900 and some odd thousand, and we have to get that money from our fund balance.
Again, we are looking at options with ARP. We don't know if that will be able to work out or not. And again, we will look at some local emergency management grant opportunities. Chip's already started that process. So,
Do we feel pretty confident that we can get some grant money? I mean, there's grant money out there. I mean, the local fire departments get grant money all the time. I mean, a lot of time it's 50-50 match, but still, again, 50% is.
and I think what was trying to come up in the last week or so has been the discussion of the 911 funds, since we could possibly use that as a mobile backup 911 center and see what the opportunity that may arise as well. It never hurt to ask.
Mr. Chairman, that it's going to take a year or so to build this truck. So we've got, basically what we're doing is basically securing the actual chassis. And to allude to Commissioner Hardison's figure, the $750,000 is what that unit cost from Johnston County 9 years ago. That's where the $750,000 come from.
Well-
and not, and not knowing what everything was going to be until you got a quote.
We only, the quote, it does follow UG guidelines as well, so we can use ARP funding. We are going to use ARP funding if we can. Allison
I just want to clarify the 750,
Right.
because, people listening like, then everybody thinks it's a want thing
Right.
instead of a need thing.
Right.
And the actual escalation in cost, and Wayne and I have seen this in emergency service on fire trucks is just going to expenses. So
Well,
I just want to make that clear.
we've had a 30-day hold on the bid as well, so that's the reason why we're kind of pushing this forward is if we don't accept it within the 30 days, and I think we have less than 20 now on the, if I'm not mistaken, was that? Around 20 probably, days left on the bid, that if we don't, we would lose the chassis, and it may be a couple of years instead of a year.
Sheriff, when did the sheriff's office first ask for this vehicle? How long has it been?
I think they've been asking for years, but I think they went and had a special conversation with our delegation and tried to get some funding for this in the budget. Again, I think it kind of ramped up after the issue at the river.
Don't know how many years it's been asking for.
No, sir, it's been a while though, yes, sir.
Any other question or conversation on this matter? Move forward.
And then number 4, motion to approve changes to the Wayne County ordinances to comply with Session Law 2021-138, new GS 153A-123, and GS 14-4. And I'll let Andrew, we can go at 9. It's just it's meeting state statutes by making some minor changes with respect to civil penalties and criminal penalties on local ordinances. I got it right.
So we really don't have much choice.
We have no
These
choice.
have been passed, we've got to incorporate.
We're just updating our ordinances.
Okay.
Then we'll
Nice to have options,
The board, with respect to new business, do we want to add number 5, discussion of the library in Dudley area? I want to make sure if that is.
I mean, I think I would like to, we could discuss it. I don't see a reason why not discussing it since we have people here from the library and we're talking about libraries. We might as well discuss it. And we're not saying we're going to deal one today, but I think we should discuss it.
Yeah, we've heard from 2 commissioners as far as discussing possible, looking at something in the Dudley area on a library. Other commissioners, I need your input on this. What's the pleasure of the rest of the board?
In all due respect, I have a real problem where we're adding items here on the day of the meeting to the agenda. I'm not prepared for these discussions related to that. I haven't done any research. I haven't done any I have no problem in a discussion, but I really don't have a lot of information for which to have any discussion on. I don't have any discussion materials. So in a case like that, I'd like to see us possibly say in our next agenda that we put that on the item and actually, so all of us have an opportunity to get together any materials we might need for discussion. I have no problem in discussion, but I don't have any materials or haven't done any research, don't have a whole lot of information on it. So,
Chair, I just wanted to say, I don't have a problem with putting it off to the next meeting, but I do want to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that almost every meeting, we get something added to the agenda. And at every meeting, I don't have any information on it. Once the information comes, I look at it, I discuss it, whatever. Sometimes we have to make a decision that day, sometimes we don't. I think that's a poor excuse because it's never been an excuse before when things are added to the agenda, to new business or anything else. But either way, I'm fine with it. This is Commissioner Williams' issue, Yeah,
I just
something
want
he's
to add
bringing,
that I confer with you in regard to any new items being added to the agendas. Matter of fact, our chair asked, is there anything that we want to add to this agenda? And he asks us that on a regular basis. And it's unfortunate now that I'm pleading for my district to have something that is an issue. And it's not something that's rocket science. It's an issue that we're already discussing the library scenarios. So it's not anything that's deterring from what we're going to do. We already have we respect what's coming from the library board, Ms. Phillips, and we already know that there's an issue in Fremont with the library. However, now that we're discussing it, we might as well discuss what's happening in the southern part of the area as well, District 2. And what's happening in that area is that there's a need there. Ms. Phillips stated that the libraries are about a level playing field. And unfortunately, it's not a level playing field in Dudley. Mount Olive is very far for some residents that live in Dudley. We don't have great public transportation that can get people to the library from Dudley to Mount Olive. You know, she talked about adult programming non-existing in Fremont as well as Pikeville. Well, it's non-existing as well in Dudley. It's long overdue for that particular side of the county to see where their resources are being used. And it's unfortunate that we're not hearing anything about Dudley, but we're hearing, let's work on the northern part of the county. And I'm not taking anything away from the citizens in the northern part of county. I'm sure they need things and they're long overdue as well. So I don't see why we cannot discuss it today. I mean, at the end of the day, the majority of the board may not be in favor of it, but it's just a discussion.
Mr. Curley, you had something to say?
Well, I mean, I get it. I get the everybody wants something in their community. I mean, for that matter, I mean, Seven Springs is one of the furthest ones out. They don't have a library. Rosewood doesn't have a library. For that matter, Belfast, I mean, if Fallenbrook had incorporated it, they'd have been the second largest municipality in Goldsboro, or in Wayne County, but they don't have one. I mean, so we've got to kind of limit to, and I go back to the regional approach, because you got to look at staffing and everything else. I mean, it's a cost factor. I mean, I wish we'd go back to the community schools. Chairman's here. We can't do that. I mean, it's not, you know,
Not feasible.
and the money issue. So I don't care about if we discuss it or whatever, but I'm not in favor of putting several small libraries throughout the county. I think we need to go to the regional, north, south, and central. That's my opinion. But I don't have an issue discussing it.
Mr. Williams, have you brought this issue up to the Library Advisory Board?
Well, initially I asked for information, and I hadn't received information, budgetary information initially. It was kind of challenging receiving that. I've missed a few meetings recently, so I can't blame them pertaining to that as far as me addressing those things. However, I think that most understand how important it is for the Dudley-Marmac area to really have something that people can have access to, a brick and mortar location.
And one more thing is, and I may be wrong on this, and we got two school board members here, but I think every school has a library. And that's resources that they can use as well, you know, during school. And there is libraries in most of the communities. But anyway, that's enough said on the library thing.
Anything else? I mean,
Mr. Chairman, it seems evident that we're going to discuss this matter today. I would just suggest that we do it at the appropriate time, which would be where when item 2 under new business, when we are in fact discussing that library, that we go ahead and discuss it at that time, because it appears we're going to do it anyway.
We'll have that as a 2A.
So there you go.
We'll have 2A. Okay.
Ms. Williams, can I ask you, while we have the Library Advisory Board Chair here, to reach out to him again and see if we can get information for the next conversation?
Okay, absolutely. Well, and it's simple. It's very simple. Just like we did a feasibility study for the northern section, I would just like for us to do a feasibility study for that particular area. And I think that's too hard to do. And I think that kind of like stops a lot of the conversation that, where it's going to be long drawn. So I think if we can figure out how we're going to do that and start the process of that, I think that's going to be the first steps.
Okay, we'll leave that to rest for the 9 o'clock meeting. Okay, carry on, Mr. Hunter.
All right. Then after that, we'll have,
Do they actually need to vote on that?
They would need to change the agenda of the meeting.
Yeah, at a 9 o'clock meeting.
But technically, I think our procedures call for anything that's going to be added to the agenda has to have a majority vote.
We don't vote at the pre-agenda meeting, though. We'd have to vote
No,
on
I'm just saying that
9 o'clock.
that'd be at the 9 o'clock meeting.
all right. Yeah, we'll bring that up because again, we have the unfinished business on the CAG contract, and we'll add that also as a change to the agenda as well.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
And then I'm sorry.
And I said, madam, thank you.
Then we'll have public comments, county manager's report, board of commissioners committee reports. I do not believe we have a closed session today.
Yet.
Not yet. So, and then adjournment, and that's it.
Okay, our pre-agenda meeting is over. Let's take a 10-minute recess, and we'll be back at 9 o'clock for a regular meeting.